Hi there. Hey, if you're looking to remove the fuel cooler on your 5.9 6BTA Cummins engine and you have a jacket water aftercooled version, this video may be of use to you. You should consult the Seaboard Marine video for the other version that has the turbo aftercoolers. Here is the kit, and it's got some fittings that don't exactly fit for the JWAC version, but I think maybe they're modifying the kit based on some feedback. The thing that's kind of unique on this particular one is that the right side of the fuel cooler has a reduced hose fitting going from the fuel cooler to the reduction gear cooler. Okay, and you'll see why later. The combo block manifold that's referred to in the video on Seaboard is the other piece of component on the engine that's coming off, and it really cleans up the engine side well. I recommend this kit if you don't think you need cooled fuel. The fitting that's in the upper right circled is something that didn't come with my kit, but I requested it and they supplied it at no charge to me, which is starting with a 90-degree coupling before the fittings that go to a fuel line. And a friend of mine down in Santa Barbara recommended getting some long wrenches. I think this was a 1/2 and 9/16, and those came into, I think they're very useful. Otherwise, you're just using standard parts, and I grabbed some extra hose in case I needed it to splice into the line. So one of the first things I did was removed the return fuel line, drain the fuel out of the fuel cooler. The next step was to remove the clamps on the fuel cooler and get it out of the path between the water pump and the oil cooler for the gears. That was easy to do. And then what I did was I cut the fuel lines going to the combo block, and then I suspended them with some rope so that they wouldn't drip all over my bilge. And you can see here just a picture of the line. I just did some half hitches and tied them up high, kept them aiming up. That gave me the chance to start the work. So disconnected the line going from the combo block to the fuel pump. And then I used a breaker bar with an extension to get rid of the manifold. Here's the bolts off. And I disconnected the oil pressure sender hose from the left. That's going into that block. Here's the block removed. And if you follow the Seaboard video, you'll know you have to cap that fitting where that line was. The sender I had was pretty corroded, so I ordered a new one and put it on. I also took the opportunity to repaint the side of the engine. This is what mine looked like when I removed the block. And here's after one coat of paint, and then the next coat of paint's coming. And I greased the fitting after removing the Allen bolt to put in the location for the new sender. And there's the new sender in that location. That was not very difficult to put in. The challenge I had with that 90-degree fitting was based on some interference I had with this fuel line going from the fuel filter up to the injector manifold through the banjo fitting. And you can see it's kind of tight. I actually managed to get it after a bunch of advice from people, but that 90-degree elbow was interfering with that line right there. And that line is just coming from the fuel filter. What I ended up doing was loosen both sides, well, that side of it as well as the banjo fitting, so that I could rotate that whole thing out of the way. And it was very helpful to rotate or remove that, or I should say loosen the side from the fuel filter so that I could get the new sender on and the wiring in correctly anyway. Here it is installed. And it's tight. It's actually touching that fuel lines, the metal clamping around it. And you can see that same fitting up above my Seaboard Marine pump so that I can install the impeller or reinstall an impeller without moving that line. Here's a top view of it. And I've got the fitting for the fuel return already set, ready to go. And here's another view of it where it's kind of angled kind of towards the port side, and the fuel fittings on, and here's the fuel lines attached. My line for the supply was long enough, and the return was not, so I had to put a 3/8 hose barb in the path. here's the engine all painted and ready for the assembly of the hose. And so the unique thing again for this JWAC engine is that you need to get a coupler. And again, my friend from Santa Barbara had identified this. I found a part at a radiator shop that has a fitting that goes in this hose and couples to the cooler. So this was the way I completed the project, and then when I went to go reload the new oil filter, I plugged the middle and filled it through the side holes so that I wouldn't infect the fuel system. And here's the final picture of it all installed. Actually, this one doesn't have the fuel filter on it. The fuel filter I put on right after this, and there's no problem with the access for that. Well, I hope you find this video helpful, and good luck if you decide to take this project on.